So we open to this guy painting in a church. He narrates to us that he's been painting for many days, but he's still broke. So he goes over to ask the priest for his cash, but it turns out the priest passed due to the plague. Unlucky. The painter then sees the priest's robes and realizes something. Priests get a lot of money, have warm beds, and always be eaten, so he decides to pretend to be one. And let's cut to this guy, Lorenzo. He seems pretty stressed. He's running from some goons who are under the employment of a man named Gerbino. Lorenzo eventually gets away, and to this, Gerbino tells his men to find him at all costs. The next morning, Lorenzo's boys get him a horse and tell him he should probably leave the city. Lorenzo says true, and leaves. Alright, now let's move on to this girl, and let me just tell you now, there's going to be a lot of cutting between different characters, so brace yourself. Anyway, her name is Pampinea, and she's mourning her parents who recently died from the plague. Gerbino comes through offering his condolences and all that, and asks what she's gonna do now, seemingly with something up his sleeve. Pampinea says a Russian count, who's her fiance, is coming to their city soon and she'll probably marry him. Gerbino says, nah, actually I'm taking all your property. He says that her father owed him a lot of money, and if she wants to save the house, she must marry him. Lorenzo's still running, horsing from Gerbino's men when he meets a man who's deaf and, in their words, dumb. The man tells him he used to work as a gardener nearby, but unfortunately lost his job. Lorenzo goes, "Oh man, that sucks for you," but has a brilliant idea for himself. He decides to pretend to be deaf and dumb and get the gardener job, so he can hide from the thugs that are after him. He ditches his horse and climbs a tree, allowing Gerbino's men to pass. Just when he felt like he was safe, the tree branch suddenly breaks from under him and he falls, knocking himself unconscious. Some nuns find Lorenzo and bring him back to the convent. Turns out this was the place they needed the gardener. The nuns don't get to touch men very often, or probably ever, and are fascinated by Lorenzo. Lorenzo regains consciousness, but decides it's in his best interest to continue acting unconscious. The head nun comes through and asks what's all the hubbub. The two nuns say that the man is deaf and dumb and they need a gardener, so Lorenzo gets hired. That was easy. Lorenzo's taking a bath, and the two nuns from earlier walk in to help him with said bath. And a little bit more. That was also easy. We can assume this is why they're so excited to hire him. See, they can do whatever they want with him, and he'll probably never be able to snitch because to them he's deaf and dumb. Alright, now let's cut to Pampinea and see what she's up to. She's at church praying with her friends, because I assume that's what all young people did back then. She tells everyone that she has a second home in the city where she'll be meeting the count she's betrothed to, and they should all come over. Suddenly, Gerbino and his goons appear. He says, "Girl, what you up to? Sounds like you were talking about something suspicious over there." She says, nah, we were just praying. She also says she'll be heading to the convent to become a nun. She then heads to the convent to become a nun. And as you probably guessed, she's doing this to buy time for the Russian count to come down and marry her. So she's at the convent getting suited up when she spots Lorenzo frolicking about. One of the nuns says he's dumb and deaf and works here. Pampinea then sees a nun and Lorenzo run into the woods. She puts two and two together and gets upset and jealous because, fun fact, she always had a crush on Lorenzo. So now we meet Count Durzinski, the man Pampinea is betrothed to. He's at Pampinea's crib where he meets Gerbino, who tells the Count that Pampinea will be marrying him so he can just go. The Count gets pretty upset but doesn't want the smoke, so he leaves. As the Count's riding through town, he gets stopped and told that Pampinea is waiting for him in another house in the city. He heads over there. Back to Lorenzo, he meets two nuns that bring him food. They beg Lorenzo to sleep with him as they heard other nuns are sleeping with him. He says, "Alright, fine." Pampinea and some nuns are walking to deliver Lorenzo some bathwater. Pampinea says what they're doing is a sin and they should chill. The nuns say, "Honestly, you're just jealous and what they're doing is fine." Pampinea, in a fit of jealousy, pours hot water on Lorenzo and dips. The Count's heading over to meet Pampinea when he's ambushed by Gerbino's men. All of the Count's men are killed, but the Count makes it out. Alright, back to Pampinea, who overhears Lorenzo's tantalizing singing. She likes what she hears. She appears before Lorenzo with her face covered and blindfolds him. She kisses him, then leaves. Lorenzo's a little perplexed. A few days pass by and it's time for Pampinea to leave because her Count is probably here. Just before she leaves though, she tells the head nun that Lorenzo isn't really dumb and deaf. Lorenzo is fired and kicked out of the convent. He then sees Pampinea passing by, and since he has nowhere to go, he asks her to take him with her. She says sure, let's skedaddle. Okay, back to the Count. He's vibing by a lake where a girl is skinny dipping. And hey, I recognize her, it's one of Pampania's best friends, Melissa. The Count says he's looking for someone named Pampania as he's betrothed to her and that he's trying to get married and go home with the quickness. Melissa says that she, in fact, is Pampania. Since the Count has never actually seen his fiancée, he believes her, cause I mean, who would lie about that? The two then actually start to quickly develop feelings for each other. Lorenzo and Pampania arrive at her crib. He tells her that he's fallen in love with the nun who blindfolded him and that he'll find her no matter what. She asks him how he would know it was her if he found her. He says he'll just know. The two walk down some stairs and she tells him that if he kisses a new girl, he'll probably forget all about that nun. He says, nah, that's cap, I'm in love. The two get pretty close when Gerbino suddenly appears with his goons. Lorenzo says, man, alright, let's box. The two fight and Lorenzo gets smacked. Like bro didn't even stand a chance. Pampania tells Gerbino to chill and that if he kills Lorenzo, she'll never marry him. He says fine, and spares him. The next day, Gerbino and Pampania have a chat. She tells him that she'll marry him immediately, but on one condition, he can't kill Lorenzo. Ever. Because she figures that if she marries him, he'll just kill Lorenzo anyway. Gerbino considers this proposition and says fine. Pampania quickly approaches the priest and hey, it's the painter guy from earlier in the movie. She offers him money and tells him to delay the wedding for as long as possible. He says say less and agrees to do so. Gerbino's boys take Lorenzo to the woods to release him, but psych, they were planning on killing him anyway. Lorenzo says double psych and bops them. He then spots the Count riding by to Pampania's house to marry, well, Melissa, who he thinks is Pampania. He heads in the same direction. Gerbino and Pampania are conducting their ceremony. The priest is delaying the ceremony as per Pampania's request. Gerbino gets quite annoyed though and brings out his long sword, telling the priest to act right. The priest says, my bad dog, and carries on, a bit quicker this time. The Count appears and oh, my man is strapped. Gerbino dips and Lorenzo takes off to capture him. A fight breaks out. It's Lorenzo and the Count versus all Gerbino's men and ooh, oh boy, Gerbino's men are getting washed. In style too. The Count catches up to Gerbino and the two box. The Count does a few combo moves on Gerbino and smacks him. Lorenzo says halt, it's his turn, he wants his rematch. The Count says, I bet, do your thing, but if you lose, it's all good, cause I'm killing Gerbino anyway. Boom, it's the fight you've all been waiting for. Lorenzo and Gerbino are having their rematch when Gerbino suddenly loses his balance and falls into a well. Okay, Pampania finally arrives and tells the Count she can't marry him as she's in love with Lorenzo. She then takes off her veil. The Count goes, girl, ain't nobody wants you, as Melissa arrives. Melissa's bold-faced lie comes out, but the Count doesn't care. He says he loves her and that's all that matters. So then Pampania and Lorenzo have their heart-to-heart. She tells him it's time for them to get married. He says nah, he fell in love with the nun and can't marry her. Then, well, you probably guessed it. She kisses him, he realizes it's her, and they get married. Anyway, that's the end of our movie, folks. If you like this recap, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button for more videos like this one. Take care.